cooking as she is for her singing, Jennifer, you think she'd have us over?
I think it would be me and you and her and Bruno. Why not?
Beautiful time. The Essence Festival is over 2 weekends, starting today through Sunday, and then July 2nd through the 5th. And it's not just music, there are panels, workshops, and more. And all of that is happening on the Essence website.
There's so much to do online. Of course, with our region opening up, more and more people are getting around outside of the home.
And that's true, but you should definitely expect expanded disinfecting protocols, social distancing, and some mandatory mask wearing, depending on where you go.
Thank you, Tanya. Thanks for all the options this week and every week.
Well, thank you. And of course, there's more on our website, whyy.org/things to do, including a virtual symposium next week hosted by the National Constitution Center. It's called Battle for the Constitution, and we'll have the info on that and all that you need to know about the Susan B. Komen Philadelphia Virtual Breast Cancer Walk on Sunday.
Good to hear from Tanya Pendleton. That song gives me little chills. 8:50, Morning Edition. Moving forward, we have some things still to offer. We hear from Jon Stewart in a couple of moments here. At the top of the hour, it's the BBC and News Hour. All on 90.9. It's your NPR member station. On the next Fresh Air, Christine Baranski. She stars in The Good Fight, playing a smart, progressive partner in a law firm. It's a spin-off of The Good Wife. She's also known for her comedic roles on stage and screen, and for being in stage and screen musicals, including Into the Woods, Mamma Mia, Chicago, and Mame. Join us this afternoon at 3, and again tonight at 7 on WHYY.
I'm Marty Moskowayne. If you want to keep up with the news, the latest trends, meet interesting people, learn a thing or two, and be part of the conversation, join me for Radio Times, weekday mornings at 10 with a rebroadcast at 11 at night on WHYY.
It is sunny in Philadelphia, 76 degrees. Sunny, 76. We'll have some clouds today and get up to 88 degrees. It's 8:51. Good morning.
This is Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm Rachel Martin.
And I'm David Green. For 16 years, Jon Stewart's brand of satire exposed the absurdity of American politics.
From Comedy Central's World News headquarters in New York, this is The Daily Show with Jon Stewart.
I think it is safe to say that faithful viewers of The Daily Show have yearned to hear Jon Stewart's voice make sense of what's going on these days, right? Well, tomorrow he is releasing a new film, a timely comedy that is called Irresistible. It stars Steve Carell. So when I got the chance to talk to Jon Stewart about this new movie, I had to start by asking, does he miss being on TV right now? We had a presidential impeachment. We're in a pandemic.
Are you, David? Are you asking to stay in my bunker? Because I only have mushroom soup for 2 weeks.
No, I mean, now we're in this moment where the police are killing black men. I mean, continuing to do that. It is a stunning and painful moment in our country, and I think for many years people turned to The Daily Show for like some sense of relief and connection to you. And I get, like, I wondered, are you feeling some responsibility to be that voice in this moment in some way?
No. I am feeling a responsibility to promote a movie that deals with what I think is one of the issues of our electoral system, and that is it. So it's not like I think, oh my God, you know what's missing from all this? Me. Like, I don't think that at all. I am a true believer in the non-efficacy of satire, but it's what I do. It's what I make, and I certainly don't believe that the conversation has suffered from a lack of me.
So, as you might guess, his new movie is a satire. It's about what has gone wrong in American politics. Irresistible takes place in small-town Wisconsin, where an otherwise uneventful mayor's race has turned into a national spectacle. Steve Carell's character is a big-time campaign consultant who floods the election with millions of dollars, along with an army of news vans. And as he explains to his candidate's daughter, they've got to play dirty.
We can't win unless it turns out that this town isn't the Mayberry everybody thinks it is.
We were the good guys, right?
Yeah, we're the good guys.
When they go low,
We go high,
unless we also need to go low, apparently.
only to keep those who would go lower out of power.
So when they go low, we go higher incrementally in relation to how low they went.
Regrettably, yes.
For Jon Stewart, this movie is merely a comedic glimpse into what he calls the U.S. electoral machine.
When you have this perpetual election machine, and that machine is fed by this sort of never-ending stream of resources and funding, that becomes job one, to keep the machine oiled. It's about liquidity. Our elections have kind of become about liquidity. It's sort of like the Fed. And it continues to grow and grow until it's kind of a bubble. Like, I think to some extent we're in an electoral bubble that seems, I would think, impossible to sustain.
Was 2016, that election, the presidential election, was that a moment that inspired some of this, or was our country already going in this direction?
Oh, I think you've got a lot of different things feeding into that system. And one of the big things is the media landscape, which is on the search for narratives. They're trying to tell stories, and those narratives attract attention. You know, you can reduce it to sort of this idea of clickbait, but that suspense and interest drives the kind of urgency and speed and finance that's going in. So they start to feed on each other. And I think that's kind of where it happens. It's sort of, you know, it's Dwight Eisenhower saying, beware the military-industrial complex. I think it's, in a smaller extent, beware the media political complex, because it unknowingly, I think, exists to self-propagate.
I mean, I know you've chewed on this question before, but I mean, I look back to The Daily Show, and I, as a journalist, just remember being like, this is someone showing that people can get their news in an entertaining way. This could change the entire landscape. Obviously, the landscape has changed, and I guess I wonder what role do you see yourself as maybe playing in creating this?
I'm not sure. I mean, I never thought that we were delivering the news, I guess, so maybe I'm not quite... I think we were delivering criticism of it. We were using, I guess, the language of satire to make commentary on the news. So I guess I would say that we weren't delivering the news in an entertaining way. We were delivering commentary on the news.
But, you know, I would interview people, and I would say, you know, where do you get your news? And expecting them to say, you know, the evening news on NBC or CNN or Fox or maybe NPR, and they would say, I get my news from Jon Stewart. It was definitely a thing, and it always made me want to ask you that.
I can't tell you how many times, I get that idea of, people say, what did you guys do when, didn't you make the news entertainment, and isn't that the problem? The thing that we were doing has generally been around forever, which is making fun of the powers that be and the news of the day in a satirical fashion. So, to my mind, news became a business. And so, if I were to point to, I don't think news is entertaining as much as it is gladiatorial. I view news more as sport than I do entertainment, if that makes sense.
Well, Jon Stewart, this has been a lot of fun, and best of luck with the movie. And thanks a lot for talking to us.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. And I'm sorry to rant.
Jon Stewart, his new film is called Irresistible. It's in theaters and on demand tomorrow. And oh, by the way, we caught wind that Jon Stewart has been learning to play the drums in his free time. How's this new hobby going?
Dude, it's the best. And I am so bad at it. I'm in one band. It's my drum teacher and his dad, but we never play anywhere except his girl.
But I mean, you know what? It's a great performance.
Man, I don't think it is.
It's Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm David Green.
And I'm Rachel Martin.
I'm Jennifer Lynn. It's going on 8:59. Good morning, BBC News is coming up next for you.
Experiencing a surge in COVID cases.
The last thing we need to do right now is to subject our folks to another round.
Will the measure work in practice? Also, Russians start voting on constitutional changes that could allow Vladimir Putin to run for another 2 presidential terms. And how police brutality persuaded 3 African-American women in Minnesota to run for office.
When George Floyd called out to his mom, I seen my 24-year-old black son under that man's knee. And at that moment, I knew I had to do something.
All that and more after the news.
Live from NPR News, I'm Corva Coleman. The Labor Department says another 1.5 billion Americans filed for unemployment benefits last week. 47 million Americans have now filed for unemployment during the pandemic. The House will debate a Democratic proposal on police reform today. It comes a day after Democrats in the Senate blocked a Republican proposal on the same issue. Senate Democrats say the GOP bill is not strict enough, although Republicans say Democrats had a chance to offer amendments. NPR's Claudia Grisales says while the policing reform bill is poised to pass in the House today, the Republican-led Senate is expected to reject it.
Democrats want to ban chokeholds and no-knock warrants and to lower legal standards to pursue penalties for police misconduct, saying a bill in the Republican-led Senate doesn't go far enough. The Senate bill's author, Tim Scott, the chamber's lone black Republican, reminded his colleagues it was the killing of George Floyd that first brought them together.
His murder is why the country has given us the opportunity to lead. And my friends on the other side just said no.
Now, Congress is headed for a stalemate on the issue. Claudia Grisales, NPR News, Washington.
3 research institutions in Seattle have joined forces to study how Alzheimer's disease gets started in the brain. NPR's John Hamilton has more.
The consortium includes the Allen Institute for Brain Science, UW-Medicine, and Kaiser Permanente. Funding for the project will come from a $40 million grant from the National Institutes of Health. Scientists involved in the effort will create high-resolution maps of the brains of people who died with Alzheimer's. Ed Lean of the Allen Institute says the idea is to look for changes in specific types of cells.
And if we can find the cells where something goes wrong early in the disease, this would provide a new way to try to treat this disease.
One goal is to find new targets for treating Alzheimer's. So far, drugs aimed at the sticky plaques that are its hallmark have removed the plaques but failed to halt the disease. John Hamilton, NPR News.
Pakistan's aviation minister is blaming the pilot for a plane crash last month that killed scores of people. He says the pilot was distracted. NPR's Dia Hadid reports from Islamabad. The minister also claims that dozens of pilots in Pakistan have faked their credentials.
Local media reported the Minister of Aviation, Ghulam Sarwar Khan, told Parliament that the pilot was distracted by a conversation about the coronavirus.